Hello Saber fans, it's your old pal Megtooth Sith here. What we have is some custom Saber shop parts that I intend on turning this stuff into this. I'm doing this for fellow 501st Carolina Garrison member Andy Perry. Andy Perry has a Darth Nihilus costume that it's outstanding, it's incredible. And he actually posted on the Parks Saber group. It's that one that everybody's on, that everybody sells their stuff on. He posted on there, anybody got a Nihilus hilt? And I know Nihilus hilts are kind of rare. You know, it's from the Old Republic stuff. They're hard to find. There's not really a hardcore manufacturer of them. And I got to looking at photos of the Nihilus hilt and some of Shamim's builds, and I'm like, you know, I think we can do a Nihilus-esh hilt from MHS components, and that's what I'm setting out to do here. So tonight I'm going to try and get some of the machining done of the shroud material that's going to go over my hilt. This one is actually going to have switch 22. It's going to be powered by Nana Biscotti 4, which is in here. It's going to have a fixed internal chassis, so you'll be able to unscrew the main hilt body, and then the chassis will be fixed inside in that disc number 3. So it's going to be a cool saber. Now, in addition to that, I'm expecting this thing to be really loud, because the funny thing is I'm not going to put a pommel on it. As a matter of fact, there's not even going to be any threads here when I'm done with it. It's almost like a gull-wing tailpiece on him, on his saber, and I'm actually going to leave that open, and you know, this thing should be cranking loud. I think it's going to be an awesome saber. It's going to be deep red white flash on clash, traditional in-hilt LED on this one, not NeoPixel yet. Of course, the way I build this, we will be able to go NeoPixel in the future if he so desires. But at any rate, it's just going to be standard in-hilt LED. Hope to shoot more as the thing starts coming together. Just some of the build process. You know, I don't want to bear it all out, but this is the actual hilt piece. This is the shroud material, and you know, I've made my patterns out of paper, and then I trace my shape that I'm going to cut out onto the hilt piece. Of course, I've covered the hilt piece in tape to protect it as I'm doing the cutting, because this is getting ready, you know, it's getting ready to get nasty. Of course, you know, I'm not exactly set up here with a machine shop, so a lot of this is by hand. You know what? The funny thing is, when you do stuff by hand, and you know, when it comes out right, it actually, I think it actually looks better than if, you know, something's so perfect and done in a machine shop. You know, I'm actually trying to straighten up one of my lines right here, make it a little bit more better. So that's going to be my cutout, which, you know, you're never even going to see what I just corrected, because the shroud's going to come over there and meet over that. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now I want to check my shroud template and make sure it's going to be good. Yeah, I think that's going to work. And this is going to be nasty, because I'm going to cut. It's going to be awesome. There's piece number 1, rough cut. There you go. There's piece number 1. She's done. We'll have to get rid of them threads in there. That'll be nothing but a thing. And then we'll have to smooth all this up so it looks, you know, a little bit prettier before we make it nasty. I figure I'll film a little bit of this nasty cutting stuff that I'm doing. This is nasty, dangerous work here with the Dremel. But, you know, when we're done, it'll look good. Get around here. Go away. Go on. Out. Go away. I don't want you getting anything in your eyes. Oh, you're looking really good, Risky. She blows. So I know that's nasty. Hopefully some of that will come out. I didn't film much of this, but there's some of the shroud work, and this is going to be an open pommel. There's not going to be a pommel cap, so this saber should be really loud. I've got one more piece to cut. The switch is going to be about right here, so I'm going to cut my last piece so it's just before where the switch is at, and then there's going to be another piece of shroud that'll come down and, you know, go around the switch. But once I get the shroud work done, and I know there's a lot of dings and scratches on it, but I'm getting ready to do Shamim shattered weathering on this thing too, and it's getting aluminum black. This guy wants this thing to look nasty, and it's gonna look nasty. So there it is, the beginning of a Nihilus saber, custom MHS Nihilus saber. I think it's coming out really awesome. I mean, I'm happy with it. I think it's going to look badass. This is my attempt at an MHS Nihilus for Andy Perry. This is all the metal work at the end of day one of the build. And like I said before, this is going to be an open pommel hilt. Should be loud as hell. And there we go. There's all the shroud work. End of day one. Figure I'd film a little bit here. This is Andy's Nihilus LED, and I've already soldered the LED, and what I do is I solder old resistor tails on all the positives to tie all the positives, and then I run one red wire off one of the positives that's tied to all the others through the LED. Then for my negative, I've used purple wire, and for my two positives, I'm sorry, the two negatives for the reds, because this is a red white LED, and for the reds I've used orange wires. So coming down through my LED, I have 4 wires coming out the back. And so now I'm going to thread these 4 wires down through the center of the heat sink, and I've got to peel off my backing to my tape, which is always a bear. There we go. So the first are my red and purple wires. They're the longest. I'll get them through, and we'll get to my orange wires, which are short. So why are the orange wires short? Because once I get them through the heatsink, I'm going to be putting proper resistors on them for my soundboard and battery solution. Once I put resistors on these 2 negatives for the reds, I'm going to common them up into 1 orange wire. So I'll only have 3 wires coming off my Tricree LED. 1 wire running the reds, 1 wire running the white, and the positive wire which feeds all 3 diodes on the LED star. I keep saying LED. These are all, there's 3 LEDs on this star. 1, 2, 3. Each LED, and LED stands for light emitting diode. and each of these LEDs are a different color. This one is a red light emitting diode, this one is a red light emitting diode, and this one is a white light emitting diode. And they are soldered down on this star, and now we're running wires off of this star so that this LED star is lit up appropriately by the soundboard. It'll throw juice to whichever LED we want running depending on whatever we have going on in the saber. So that's pretty much the LED. In an MHS saber, how these go together is this is the emitter section of the saber, and this module sits down here in the end of the emitter section. This heatsink threads into the module. The heatsink has the LED star on it. Now that we have the LED star located on our heatsink, we're going to drop the Carclo lens, which has 3 legs on it, and there's 3 corresponding holes in the LED star. And we're going to drop our Carclo lens in the LED star, and then this is the LED module, like I said before, that sits in our emitter like that in our blade holder, and I'm going to thread the LED star onto the heatsink, and this whole assembly, once it's together, is called the LED module once it's all assembled. And I've boogered up the threads on it a little bit, but I should be able to force it on in by using my forceps as a kind of plier, and the copper will rethread just fine. I boogered up my threads drilling the center hole in the emitter. Let's tighten that up a little bit more. Solid. So there is the Tricrete LED going through the lens inside the LED module, and there's our wires coming out of the module. So next, what I'm going to do, and then I'll come back to film the test, is I'm going to solder my resistors, 1 resistor onto each of these negative red wires with heat shrink. Here's a little tip I learned from Mad Cow by watching his videos. So when I have 2 resistors that I want to common up, I'm going to leave the tails long on these 2 because these are actually going to the same wire. So when I leave the tails long, I can just twist the tails together and I'm gonna cut them because I don't need that much wire. And now I can solder my single wire to these tails. But actually what I'm going to do now before I do that is I'm going to test this LED. Alright, so I'm getting ready to test this LED, so I got my handy dandy power supply out, and both red dye are going. I don't know if that's going to be blinding the camera or what, but they're both going. And now I'm going to test my white flash on clash. There it is. So the white dye is working. Now let's test the white dye alone because it kind of looks pink, but boom, yeah. There is the white dye by itself. So my white flash on clash is working, and both of my red dyes are going, so that's a successful test, which means yay, I wired the LED properly. Now we can solder our long wire onto our 2 resistors, and actually I'm going to dip those in flux, and I'm going to solder them together, pre-tin them here. Let's get all these wires out of the way, and here we go. So I'm pre-tinning those tails to receive the orange wire, which we will receive. So now I'm going to solder this orange wire onto here, onto my resistor tails. Bada bing. and that's a good joint, just like that. Now I'm going to add my shrink wrap here, and then I'm going to shrink wrap over the both resistors, and that'll be done. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. So there's my 3 wires coming out of the LED. You have my red, which feeds positive on all 3 diodes, purple, which is the white flash on clash, and orange, which is both red diodes. Now we're going to test my connection here on orange, which this is the final test. Making sure I didn't screw up anything when I commoned that up, so I'm going to grab my test battery and I'm going to hook red to positive and black to my orange, and both red diodes should light up. And they do. So we're in business, definitely. So there is the assembled blade holder. This one looks nasty because I've done some cracked weathering on it. But there's my 3 wires coming out of my disc number 5, which is going to be how my chassis secures into the head of the saber. The bottom half of the saber actually screws off, so those wires are going to be going through there and then in through a crystal chamber routing, and you know, we're done. We're done wiring the LED. Next. Alright, for the Nihilus speaker, I figured I'd do something I haven't done before, and I guess I'll kind of try to video wiring up the speaker. There's really not much to it. The way we wire up these sabers, polarity doesn't matter. I use blue wire on my speakers. I've already got the wire cut and prepped to get to my soundboard. And we're going to solder one here, one there, put shrink on it, twist them, and a little bit of hot glue dab there, and speaker's wired. That's all there is to it. Alright, here we go. I'm going to try and keep my hand out of the way so you can see what's going on here. It's going to be kind of hard shooting around the camera here. But the important thing when you're soldering on these speakers is to be quick, because if you're not, you'll mess up the speaker by melting it. And I didn't like that joint because it moved. Bada bing. Now, a little bit of shrink wrap, and I cut the shrink at a slight angle, and I'll show you why here in a second. And I'm going to slide that angle piece up over the PCB on the speaker, and if it'll go, I might have to do this off camera so I can get it to fit. Now, that's as close as we can get it. Now I'm going to throw the heat gun to it. Hot. So basically, when we cut that shrink on an angle, it helps cover a lot of that PCB to protect from shorts. In my last step, you know, I bend the wires over while they're hot from the heat gun, and then I'm going to put a dab of hot glue on the back of the speaker to hold these wires down. And this hot glue will act as strain relief for these speaker wires, so that there's never any strain on the solder connections. You got to sit here and hold them down until the hot glue dries. But basically, once you do this, your speaker's pretty solid. It's ready to go in the speaker holder. Andy, this is your last look at a somewhat clean and polished hilt. You know, you said you were going to do this, so I'm doing it for you because I need to learn. But here it goes. Alright, I've never done this before, but this is my first ever attempt at aluminum black. And, you know, gonna see how this works out, I reckon. They said brush it on and let it sit, and once you get the desired effect, to dunk it in water. Yeah, the funny thing is the cracked weathering is actually coming out. Oh, look at that. So it looks like, you know, I may need to sand that a little more, because it seems where I had the aluminum, you can see where I have the aluminum cut or sanded, it appears to blacken a lot more, whereas where it's shiny it does not. I know, I think it was Obi Shane said that, you know, it's better to heat it up. This is treatment number 1. So I'm going to see how this looks here. And then, you know, I might, this isn't the only treatment this is going to get. This is going to get some paint and clear coat and some other stuff too. I just wanted to give this a shot here. See how it looks. Obviously, that shroud material has some kind of a coating on it that I didn't get enough sanded off. You know, I was so afraid to mess up the shine on the hilt that I think, in my fear to mess up the shine, that I haven't opened up the pores enough in the hilt. So after I do this first run, yeah, see there where I've sanded, you know, it's definitely having its effect. So I think I need to do some more sanding. You know, the cracked weathering's really starting to come out there, as you can see. I'm trying to get it to pop out a little bit more there. So obviously I'm going to have to do some sanding on the shroud material, because the shroud material is really what I wanted to take here and on the inside of the grips, you know. So obviously, you know, there's some kind of a weird coating there that's keeping that from taking. So here it is after the first coat of aluminum black. You know, it's starting to look nasty. And you can see the cracked weathering popping out quite a bit more than it was. I mean, it's really looking nasty. This is what it looks like after its second bath. And the hilt's looking pretty awesome. Definitely makes the shrouds that I cut stand out a lot more, which is good because there's a lot of work that went into them. But I think that's, you know, a pretty fair representation of some of the pictures I've seen. You know, it's not perfect, but that's a pretty cool saber.
Greetings, saber fans. It's your old pal Megtooth Sith. You know, I'm a collector of antiquities. I happen to find something with Nihilus. I have his saber. It's pretty awesome. Not as awesome as my grandfather, mind you, but cool nonetheless. Darth Nihilus. If anybody sees my mom, tell her to prepare to get shish-kebabbed just like her husband Han Solo.
Greetings, everyone. The Guinness is about. The Guinness is about in celebration of one of the coolest sabers that I've built to this date. This is Darth Nihilus, at least my version of it. This is all MHS from the custom saber shop with shrouds that I cut myself. I used a new method on this saber, which is new to me, which is Casey's aluminum black. And you know, it probably still could use a little bit more, but I'm kind of happy with where it is. I did the shattered weathering, basically following Shamim's tutorial after I cut the shrouds, but this thing is pretty awesome. Inside it's got Nana Biscotti version 4. This saber really deserves Prism or something else, but you know, the customer wanted Nana Biscotti 4. I'm probably going to do another one with Prism or Spark Color, or one of a higher end card than Nana Biscotti. This one is has a switch 22. It's got the blade retention right here, but you can also swap that out for an Allen screw. And then you know, I want to show you. So this is an MHS saber, and almost the coolest part of this saber is on the inside, and this is all custom by me. I did this chassis and the crystal chamber. It's just a simple crystal chamber. It's a budget build. It's Nana Biscotti, as you can see right here. There's your Nana Biscotti. And you've got a recharge port, an 18650 Panasonic lithium-ion battery from the custom saber shop. It's got a tri-cree in deep red white, and the crystal chamber has a red and white LED that's pretty cool. It's my way of getting matching crystal chamber. This one's the first time I've tried this, and it's pretty cool. It is not an RGB LED. It is a red LED and a white LED combined together, and it's pretty awesome. So I wanted to show you the crystal chamber here. pretty wild. Also new on this saber is I put accent LEDs in the first disc on the recharge port, and you can see it lights up this first disc on the recharge port in red. Now the Nana Biscotti, you shut that off, don't want to put the cart before the horse. But the Nana Biscotti, you know, your only option is solid LEDs. Now these are on the deep sleep pad. You can see I got the deep sleep pad wired on. So that is, you know, basically the gist of the saber. I mean, it's really a simple saber, but it's not. This is an awesome saber. I'm really proud of this hilt. Really proud of this hilt, the way it came out. You know, I would like to do another one of these. I'm just so proud of the way this came out. It has an open pommel. That's the only thing that I think I'd like to change. I'd like to figure out a way to do this to get the speaker deeper set in there and maybe have some kind of a cover over that. I mean, you could even weld in a cover there because, you know, the saber comes off because it's a internal attached set chassis. But I'm just really proud of this saber, the way it came out. It's just a pretty awesome little saber. I even weathered the belt clip. But it's pretty awesome. Awesome little saber. I'll do the demo here in a minute. Quick instruction manual on the Nihilus saber. The kill key is very tiny because it's got to fit in under the hilt. But I cut basically a fingernail gouge in there so you can put your fingernail down in there and grab it. Don't lose it. Don't lose your kill key. With Nana Biscotti, you really don't need a kill key. It goes into deep sleep. It'll last for years. You know, it shuts down everything. But still, I think it's still good habit when you're putting your saber in storage to put the kill key in there, if you're not going to use it for a long time. So basically on the Nana Biscotti, it has 3 sound fonts on it. And basically I divided up Shamim's Annihilation or Nihilus font, and I used the first 6 swings and clashes, hum, saber on, saber off on font 1, and then font 2 I used the second set of 8, it's 8 swings, the second set that I put on it. So all those swings and clashes are on there. Now in Nana Biscotti you don't get blaster blocks and you don't get lockup. So, you know, there's all you have are, you know, saber on, saber off, swings and clashes. That's what you got. On the third font, I thought was really fitting of this saber, I used Shamim's Necro. So to change fonts, you press and hold the button until you hear 2 beeps. There's second beep. That's font 2, which is still Nihilus, and now we want to go to font 3, which is Necro. That's Necro. And then when you press and hold it again, it'll go back to font 1. First beep, second beep, font 1. That's how you cycle through the fonts. To power on the saber, you press the button until the saber powers on and release it. Then you swing and, you know, clash the saber, and when you're done, you want to turn the saber off, you just press and hold the button here until the saber turns off. The Nana Biscotti 4 does have mute on the go, and basically if you press this button and you release it after the first beep, it lights up in mute on the go. You can see the saber's lit up, but there's no sound coming out. It's because it's mute on the go. And the way to get out of mute on the go is to press and hold this button. You'll hear the saber off sound to let you know the board's working okay. And there's the saber off sound. I'm getting ready to demo this saber. My sabers have plugs on the end to hold the cellophane in. These are my blades that I make. You slide in the blade until it seats fully in the saber, and then you tighten this thumb screw. Now I'm also going to include a Allen key thumb screw if you don't like the looks of that. I kind of like the looks of that the way it is. So now let's demo this bad boy so you can see what it can do. I'm going to demo it without the hilt on it first, so it's not going to be as loud. Nihilus. Darth Nihilus, font 2. Power off. This one's got a really weird fade on power off. Next font is going to be Necro. There's that second beat. This font really fits this saber, Necro by Shamin. It's an awesome sound font. I'll show you the difference with the lower hilt off. You can see how quiet it gets once the hilt comes off. There's no resonance. So if you just put the hilt back on a little bit, you get that resonance back. See? And retraction. This was a custom build for Andy Perry of the Carolina Garrison in the 501st Legion. He's got the Darth Nihilus costume. That's awesome. And now he's got an awesome saber to go with it. Once you take the blade out, you want to tighten that thumb screw so you don't lose it. Like I said, I'm also going to include an Allen key screw if you don't like that greebly on there. To get the board out of the Nana Biscotti, the first thing you should do is put the kill key in, because you don't want to pull the board when the saber has power. And then you push in here on the bottom of the disc and it pops out right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but sometimes it's a little tough to get to when you got big gloopy hands like me. But there is the SD card. You can put your own fonts on it if you don't like what I've loaded, or you can get another card and put different sound fonts on it. But that's the cool part about Nana Biscotti. To charge this saber, you can take your charger, again, get your fingernail underneath that kill key, pull the kill key, take your charge port, plug your charge port into the saber, and then plug your charger into the wall. Once the green light comes on the charger, the battery is full. This is a lithium-ion battery, Panasonic. It is a protected circuit battery, which means it protects it from overdraw or overcharging to keep it from overheating. but these lithium-ion batteries can be dangerous, so I would not leave in a charging saber. Once it's done charging and the green light comes on, you can take out your charger cord and you can either put your kill key back in for long-term storage, or you can leave the kill key out and let the saber go into deep sleep mode. These accent LEDs, they will go off after, I believe I've got it set at 1 minute or so. These are on the deep sleep pad. You can see the wire going to the deep sleep pad right there. That's the hot wire for both these LEDs. So when the Nanobiscotti 4 goes into deep sleep mode, those will go to sleep, and the saber will hold its charge for months without a kill key in. But if you know you're going to store it for a long time and not, mess around with it, you can put the kill key back in. Just be careful, because this is an open pommel saber. Try not to push in on the open end of the back of the hilt, where you can get to that speaker. You gently slide the hilt on over the chassis and righty-tighty screw it back on. You'll know it's on full because all the shattered weathering that I showed you earlier lines up. When the shattered weathering lines up, then it's all back together properly. And there you can see the open pommel, and you can see the speaker here on the end. Bottom line is I'm very proud of this saber. I'm proud of how it came out. I'm proud of how it functions. It's an awesome saber. Congratulations, Andy. I hope this saber helps your Nihilus to look even better than it already is. Go Carolina Garrison, and may the Force be with you always.